Why would someone's resume get culled straight away? Can your Seek or LinkedIn profile affect this? Welcome to Conversations About Mining. We've got Jess here from Beyond WA Resumes and Recruitment to answer that wonderful question. So, Jess, welcome today. And can it affect your resume getting culled?
Hey, Andrew, thanks for having me. It definitely can. So I have a lot of people ask me about Seek, and especially LinkedIn, because I know a lot of people like me before I started my last job had really no idea how to use LinkedIn or what went on in the background of it, how all the algorithms work. Your Seek and your LinkedIn profile definitely can affect you getting culled or your resume not getting through and you're not getting to an interview. Simply with Seek, it's usually if you have a profile, I think I set my Seek up like 10 years ago. So all of the information on your Seek needs to match your resume. So if you've spent all this money or you've done all the research and you've set yourself up with an awesome resume and your profile still has all the old information, your dates don't line up, maybe some of the employment, times or company names don't line up and things match, it's not the same. That can actually get you kind of kicked out from the recruitment process. Not really for lying, but just too hard basket. It gets confusing, it looks messy, it looks unprofessional. You really have to think of it if you were looking to hire someone, you want everything to be really streamlined. And I always say to people, if your Seek's a mess and you've got 20 resumes on there and they all say different things in different companies and different types of jobs, and you've got references on here, but references on here for somewhere else, and it's all just a bit of a mess. I would say either delete the whole profile and start again, or delete everything out of it and start fresh, and make sure that what's on your resume, your current one resume that you have in your account, matches what is on that Seek profile. And the same goes for LinkedIn. You want to really tidy it up, and you just need to remember with LinkedIn is keep everything very professional. It's not Facebook. You don't want to be posting about your family and your kids and your dog and what you went out for dinner and having drinks with the boys on Friday night. Like, you want to keep it really professional, because it is full of recruiters and it can be a really great tool to use to find work if you are looking for work, especially in mining, because you can contact the recruiters directly. And if they do go on there, and same thing again, all the information's mismatched, nothing matches. You've sent in a resume to them and they go out on LinkedIn and nothing actually matches what's on your profile. You've maybe like different company names, different dates and times and the timelines. You really have to make sure that that is all lined up. And
that would be a trigger for me if I was looking at that, to say what the hell's going on.
Exactly, because you think, what has this person actually done? What experience do they actually have? Like, pick a date and stick with it. Like, yep. Not everyone, I don't remember what date I finished a job 10 years ago, but make a rough guess. You kind of have an idea of the time of year. So you usually at least have a month and a year of your start and finish dates. Another thing too that can be really off-putting is having lots of jobs at the same time overlapping. So maybe you have worked part-time jobs, maybe you do a paper run and maybe you do a couple of days here and a couple of days there. I would pick the one that is most relevant to the job you're going for, say the one that's got hands-on experience or laboring or factory work, or anything that's more relevant and has the more transferable skills, and I would stick with that and cut the others out. So there's just a few things like that if you go through. Also having inappropriate photos, just not
inappropriate email address as well.
Inappropriate, we see them all the time. bigballs69@gmail. I'm talking to you. That was an actual I got for a job application, and
we had a 69er come through about 3 months ago.
Yeah, and you do, and it is funny. And if you're emailing your friends or your family and it's a bit of a laugh, that's awesome. But keep it professional. You can set up a free email account in about 5 minutes these days. So just keep it professional, and it can hinder you. And well, I guess while we're on the subject, social media as well. If you are applying for work and you've got stuff all over your social media, if you're drinking or smoking or whatever you get up to in your free time, lock your profile. You can lock your profile now.
Yep.
Keep it down, keep it private, and just think, what would I want my boss to see anything that I'm posting online right now? And that's, it doesn't have to be for everything. It's probably just a smart move in general not to post every minute life if you're out partying and doing silly things while you're young.
Yep.
But yeah, just keep it really professional. Make sure everything matches, and it can definitely affect you. I know myself, and I'm sure Andrew's done it as well in the past. You always have a bit of a stalk on social media, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, if you know,
Yep.
just to kind of get them and suss out what they're like before you do an interview. So yeah, definitely keep it clean, keep it all lined up, keep it exact, keep your details the same. If you need any help with this, obviously reach out. We can help. We can do an analysis of your profiles and let you know how they look. But yeah, it can definitely affect everything.
Yeah, and just on the getting the dreaded email back straight away saying that your resume's been looked at and it's been kept on file and all that sort of stuff. From the underground side of things, normally when you get that email back, often your resume hasn't even been read because they've collected the ones that they wanted already. They've put them forward and they've just pressed the button on the other one and they just clear it and start again. Because with the underground side of things, a lot of the HR departments aren't actually set up. So there's one big HR department that looks after everything. Sometimes, or majority of the time, it's one HR person per mine site, and each person looks after their own mine site. And they don't often talk to each other because they're flat chat all the time. And so if you see, Barminco's a good example of that. They'll have a lot of different ads around for entry level, and your ad might not go to the same mine site every time. So it's good to keep applying for those jobs over and over again every time they come up. And if they tell you that they've kept your resume on file, just assume that it's gone into the circular file and just keep applying. Don't assume that they've kept it. Just act like it's it's a fresh application every time.
Definitely, and that is true. When you get those emails, they are usually automated. Usually no one's looked at your resume. It is because you haven't met that minimum criteria for whatever reason, or they've already found their candidate earlier in the process than expected. And so all these other people that were still applying just kind of get that, sorry, you were unsuccessful email. And definitely reapply every single time. Even every, couple of months, go back into their job portal and register your interest and try and call. I always say, make that follow-up phone call, whether you're calling an admin number and you're just getting a poor reception girl that doesn't want to put you through to anyone. Still make that call, because they're writing notes file every time you're calling. And when a recruiter finally does look at your resume because you've annoyed them all so much, there's going to be 10 notes in your file that say has called on this date, has called on this date, has called on this date. And as annoying as you may feel, or as uncomfortable as that may make you to be the squeaky wheel gets the grease. If I had called and called and called every month for 10 weeks, I would think, oh, let's just interview this person. Obviously they're keen, I'm going to look at your resume now because you keep coming up. So it is really effective. As annoying as it may feel at the time, definitely follow up and definitely keep applying.
I just had a conversation with an engineer that's doing his master's in Kalgoorlie, and he had the same problem where the HR department for one of the mining companies actually called him up and said, stop applying, stop calling us, because they thought he was going for an engineering job, but what he's looking for is something part-time while he finishes his degree, and it sort of got lost in translation. And hopefully that'll sort it out now once he understands what he's got to do. But yeah, they actually called him up and said, stop annoying us, stop sending your resume in.
I had a client about 6 months ago, and he really wanted this traineeship with Rio Tinto. It was an electrical traineeship, and he was desperate for it. He'd only ever worked at Bunnings. He didn't have much experience. And I said, right, you need to make these follow-up phone calls. You need to call all these recruiters. You need to go on LinkedIn. You need to find them. You need to message them. He did all of that, and he ended up calling the Rio Tinto head office. He found out who the recruiter was. He was the head of recruitment for Rio Tinto. He managed to find out who this guy was, what his name was, and then just called the office, was like, hey, I need to speak to Joe Bloggs, and the receptionist put him through, and he got this guy on the phone, and he said, I'm really sorry, I know I'm not supposed to do this, but I really, really want this job, and I've applied and I've rung about 10 other recruiters from Rio, and I can't get through to anyone. And this guy was so impressed that he even got his phone call put through, that he ended up getting, once he went through the interview process, he ended up getting the traineeship. And I was so impressed. He was only a young guy too. He was only 19, but he just hustled and just made it happen. And look,
Yeah.
that's not going to time, but it gets you in front of their eyes. It gets your resume and you in front of them. So if you've got everything else lined up and you've got all your ducks in a row, and you can get someone like that to be looking at your resume and your application, you're halfway there.
Yep, exactly right. So if you've got any more questions about the mining industry, please send them through. If you want your resume looked at, get in contact with the team at Beyond. Jess will be able to help you out with that. And if you could share this information around and like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.